Did you know that you are just a bunch of habits? So whatever habits you've got going on, good or bad, those habits become who you are today. Let's talk about habits, or specifically keystone habits, while I make my batch of scones, date and pumpkin scones. I'm starting with 2 cups of self-raising flour, around about. Doesn't have to be exact. That's around about 2 cups of flour. Then I'm adding some baking powder, about a teaspoon, and a pinch of salt. Give that a little stir. You can sift that flour if you want. I actually forgot. And I've got 30 grams of butter, and I'm going to just cut it up into the bowl. And then I'm going to rub the butter into the flour using my hands, which should be fun. So while I'm rubbing in the flour and the butter, rubbing the butter into the flour, I should say, let's talk about keystone habits. So a keystone habit is a particular habit that when you practice it every day, it can impact other habits or impact other areas of your life. So in effect, it has a knock-on effect. So when you master one habit, it can transform everything without you even realizing it sometimes. So I'll give you some examples. So I'm just going to show you. I've been rubbing in the butter into the flour, and it's like a real crumbly consistency. So now I can add the other things. So this is where I'm adding the dates. I've cut them up, and there's about a cup. I've also got some pumpkin that has been cooked, and I've mashed it up and it's cooled. That's also about a cup. I may have got too much there, but if it's too much, I can always add more flour. I've yet to add the milk, but I'm just going to stir this up first and see how much milk it needs just by looking at the consistency. So back to the keystone habits. And I was going to give an example of exercise. Say you start regular exercising, whatever that is, whether it's walking, going to the gym, swimming, whatever it is. Once you start doing that, you start to feel like you want to eat a little bit better. Perhaps you need to start getting up earlier because it's better to exercise in the morning. Perhaps you drink less alcohol because the alcohol impacts your exercise. So that's one example. Even a simple habit like making your bed in the morning, it's only a small habit, but that can make you feel more organised, maybe more focused, and perhaps that can transform other areas of your life. I'll give you an example of one that I found for me was a keystone habit, and that was getting up early. So I kind of gradually got up a little bit earlier, starting with 15 minutes earlier, then half an hour, then an hour, and it just gave me a really good start to the day. I went for a walk or a run, or I used to go to yoga, or still do, go to yoga really early. And then I'd get back and then I'd think, I've got a little bit of extra time. I might start meditating. And then I had this whole thing about wanting to make my time to have my breakfast and have a good breakfast and sit down and not rush it. So then I was eating a really good protein-rich breakfast as well. So just from that one habit of getting up earlier helped me exercise better, eat a healthier breakfast, drink less alcohol actually. That was one thing as well. So it just has a knock-on effect. So that was a keystone habit for me. Okay, so I've mixed all that up. It's a little bit dry, so I'm actually going to add probably half a cup of milk. After adding the milk, I decided it was a little bit too sticky, So I've really floured the board. Still to me feels a little bit sticky, so I'm just going to keep kneading in the flour until I get to the right consistency. Back to Keystone Habits. What they do is they create a culture, like a culture of a healthy culture, a healthy mindset, and they motivate you. So you have to think about what a keystone habit is in your life. It could be simply, getting up early, or it could be just going for that walk in the afternoon, or it could be drinking that glass of water first thing in the morning. And watch how it can transform the rest of your life. Okay, so I'm just going to roll this out a little bit. I think it's a good consistency. I like mine fairly thick. So I actually don't have a scone cutter, believe it or not. So I'm going to use this wine glass. Good use of a wine glass. I'm not drinking alcohol at the moment, so now to me that's a little bit thin, so I'm just going to kind of do that to make it a bit thicker. And then I will keep cutting out the scones. Okay, so here we go again. I've changed my wine glass to a wine glass rather than a champagne glass because I didn't think they were making big enough scones. That's better, I like that size better. So I'll just go through and cut them out. So here's a little tip. When you put the scones on the tray, put them on the tray so that they're touching each other. Because what they do is they help each other rise up. My friend told me that, which is really lovely because it's what good friends do, don't they? They rise each other up. Okay, I'm just going to put some milk on that. Just dabbing a little bit of milk on that so they go a little bit, so I'm probably being a bit heavy-handed. So this, they'll be brown on top. So for scones, they need a really hot oven. So I usually do around about 200 degrees Celsius. And they probably would take about 15 minutes to cook. So keep an eye on them. There we go. And remember, you are your habits. So choose your habits carefully. Look at these little beauties. So I will just add a little bit of butter. That's all they need, and enjoy with my cup of tea.